Hello and good time zones, everybody, and welcome in, dear listeners, for I am your navigator of the digital grid and guardian of the internet, Nico Silverado, and welcome to another episode of The Silver Lining, the show where we spotlight creators and give the voice they so desperately deserve while searching for the silver lining in all the often stormy skies of the topics of the internet. Tonight's episode, we are diving into the importance of community while also doing what we can to learn about fellow creators that I feel like highlight in the realm of the topic. Today, we are joined by the amazing man, the amazing boy, the Awa Awa, Brandon the Chihuahua. But of course, guys, grab your favorite headset, settle in, and give a warm welcome to our guest, Brandon. Great to see you. Thank you for being here on the show today, and welcome in.
Hello.
It is a pleasure to have you.
Hello.
Hello. I'm excited to have you here today, Brandon.
Betcha hua hua.
Ahua hua. But yes, for those who don't know, we are currently live streaming here today over on Twitch and doing a live recording for our YouTube video here today. So if you guys are watching this video from YouTube and would like to join us, do not be afraid to join us over on our Twitch stream. There will be a link in the description. And if you want to check out Brandon the Chihuahua, they are of course available on Twitch. There will be a link to their chat in the description of the video. But Brandon, before we get into the nitty gritty of the things, why don't you describe yourself and tell people who are here today who you are and who is Brandon the Chihuahua?
Hello. It's me, Brandon. I'm just a dog boy from another world. That's basically who I am. I like to have fun with my friends and hang out and learn about different kinds of people. That's my life.
Honestly, heck yeah. It's such a pleasure to be able to have, because like I feel like we've known each other for a hot while, you know, and it's always cool to have it's always cool to have the ability to do an interview with friends, you know. But I'm excited. So today, folks, today's silver lining and what we're trying to aim for and we're trying to look for today is we are looking for the silver lining for the importance of building a community and using your community to grow as a creator, both as in general audience, but also to grow as a person. And I think it's gonna be really fun to talk about that because, you know, in previous episodes, we've had a lot of like more somber kind of discussions about some things. And I think this is kind of one of those topics where I think that when you really look at the whole big picture of the importance of a community, it really can be a beneficial conversation to have. So Brandon, I hope you're ready to talk about why you love the community that you're a part of.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
You ready, Mr. Krabs?
I'm ready.
Proceeds to trash talk the entirety of your community. It's fine.
Bruh.
But I'm excited about it. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, in the world of everything, a community is by all means the most important aspect of any content creator, regardless of your size, big, small, because no matter how it is, your community is the only reason why, in a lot of ways, we are able to grow and become who we are. And the reason why we're talking about it today is because many people have the biggest fear and the biggest wonder of whether or not they can actually build a community for themselves in the long run of content creation. And I think there's a lot of ways that people can realize that you do have a community, you're just not as big as you want. And I think it's the expectation that we have. So Brandon, I wanted to ask you here today a question in regards to, you know, your content, your journey as a content creator. So something I've been asking all my guests is, do you consider yourself a hobbyist streamer or a person aspiring to become a full-time streamer?
I think like when I first started out, it was definitely a hobby because it was just a fun thing I did. But now it's more like I really want this to be like work, like a job.
Yeah.
So I think I'm like there.
You're there.
Mentally.
Honestly, that's a mood. So would you consider yourself a part of a community right now, or are you in the transitioning process of trying to make one?
Definitely trying to make one. Mm-hmm. It's like trying to climb a very steep mountain. Mm-hmm. And I have slippery gloves instead of shoes on my feet.
You have gloves made of butter.
Yeah, honestly.
Honestly, though. And I think it's really good because like the reason why I ask that a lot of times is because a lot of content creators that I've been trying to bring about on the stream have been 50-50. Some of them are wanting to do things in a professional sense, some of them are trying to do things in a more casual sense, and I want to kind of always get a gauge on that. So with you, Brandon, what would you say you want your community to eventually become and be? Like, do you want your community to be more so like a highlight sort of community where you make your own content and people find your stuff, or do you want to make it like a large scale community involving other creators and talents?
That's a difficult question.
Sure.
I think I'm just here to have a good time, and if people like spending time with me, then that's cool. Mm-hmm. I don't try to look too deep into it.
Sure. So like the reason why I asked is because in a lot of ways, whenever I've done my own research and wandered around in the realms of, the internet, communities can definitely gauge and change based on like who the creator is or who the person who's holding the reins. Because, for example, I've been a part of Discords where it's literally a glaze fest where it's all about the one streamer, where you can see everything from their YouTube, their TikTok, events about them and their streams, and there's not really a lot of ways that you yourself can feel like you can actually promote yourself respectfully. But then there are other communities that are so heavily bent on community that you don't really know who's in charge or who the owner is, basically. And
I see.
Like for me personally, I have only just very recently kind of exchanged and kind of modified my own server to be a community server, because for many years I was very self-conscious about the involvement of other creators who were honestly more talented than me and or were more appealing. So like to me, for a long time up until recently, I didn't really have many ways for people to promote their channels.
Okay.
So like I think like one of the biggest things like what I want to talk about today is the way that people need to understand that communities can be beneficial to both sides, and it doesn't necessarily need to be something so intense as being as like, oh, if I make a community involving other people, then I can't grow as a creator. And I want people to remember that if you're watching this video, communities are important to the growth of content creation. And would you agree to that statement there, Brandon?
Repeat that question. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Do you believe as a content creator, having a community is very important in your ways of growth?
I think so, yeah. You're not going to get anywhere with just yourself.
Yeah. So, Brandon, in your opinion, what does a community mean to you as a creator?
That is the $1 million question. I have no idea. I think it's just people that like you.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's totally fair. And I think so. Like the reason why I asked that is because like to me, when I think of the question or the statement of this is my community, I like to think of it as a place that holds people of like-minded values and goals, or at least offers a place to welcome people to educate and to inspire other individuals. For me, a community is basically a way to spread copies of myself to the world, because I think like what's kind of funny is like as a content creator, we have the ability to genuinely inspire folks to become carbon copies of us, because I think content creators have a lot more power to inspire other people,
Yeah. So
to me, I think community is just like, it's the ability to bring about like a way to inspire like-mindedness in the ways of the internet. And I think like right now, when it comes to like the way that communities are kind of growing and changing, there's a lot more need for just like solid communities, like not so much like these like short-term commitment groups, but like just people that you can go live with, collab with, and it's awesome. And I think what kind of I think what brought me about to like meeting you and everyone else in the Ojai crew was Kisuke, and you guys have a really
I love him.
Yeah. I hope you do. Oh man, I mean, it'll be exciting to have his show. I think we're actually having his show next week.
Ooh.
Yeah, I need to make his promo poster still. I'm lazy. I'm bad. But yeah, like I was exposed to like a true sense of community through like the Ojai crew originally, because like the way you guys conversate so often and collaborate, because like anytime I see like some of you guys' streams, there's like 4 or 5 people in a call and you guys are all just like melding your personalities together, and I think it's such a fun thing.
Yeah.
So
and we bounce off of each other and we have a good time.
Oh yeah, it's so good. So Brandon, would you say that your community like helps you push through certain moments in life, like whether highs and lows?
I would say so, yeah. I don't think I would be here doing what I'm doing without them. Mm-hmm. Both like mentally as well as like being the creator that I am now. I literally would not be here without them.
Yeah. So Brandon, what kind of stuff do you think you personally create? Like, what do you do as a creator? Like, what do you like stream? I guess is another way to put it.
I do lots of video games. That's mainly my thing right now. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do besides video games. Like, I like to yap. I like talking.
Yeah.
When I was like doing YouTube stuff, like as a flesh tuber, I would just like talk. I would just talk all the time.
Yeah.
So I just really like talking.
Sure. So like, it's kind of cool. So like you started off as a flesh tuber, but then went to VTubing.
Yeah. Yep. That's how it goes.
Cool. So that's a new thing for me. So what I would love to know is like, if you're willing to discuss it, of course, what made you go from flesh to VTube?
Privacy.
Was it just like a fear of the way the world was changing kind of thing?
When I started like noticing that, like, and I started like thinking about if I got big enough, my privacy would be gone. So there was that, as well as like my personal appearance and the way I thought about my personal appearance. It was just like, I'm just gonna be this anime boy instead, because that way I can like, if the numbers ever got too big, I could go to the grocery store still and not be bombarded. You know, I could make my phone calls and I could go to my doctor's appointments and I could go to work and not be bothered. Also, work would not bother me either. So that's a plus.
So would you say like your job ever finding out that you are a chihuahua on the internet, would you say like that's like a thing you want to like at all times like try to avoid them learning?
Oh, definitely, because in the workplace that I have, they don't like anything fun. So if they discovered anything related to my personal life or what I do on the internet, I could say goodbye to my job.
I could say goodbye to my job. Dang.
Honestly. Well, they don't like me.
Damn. And you know, I think it's, and I think like back to like your statement about like the whole involving of like you wanting to make this a full-time thing. So like in your eyes, what if you could have the community and have the engagement, what would you think you would want to do full-time as a creator, like every day?
Probably just a place for people to come in and just like shoot the shit. People to kind of forget the outside world for a while. That's the main thing. That's what I try to look for every day, is like, what do I want to use as like background noise? What do I want to do in terms of like conversations? You know, what if I can't go outside? Like, I want a place that I can go to and kind of just exist without the rest of the world being involved in any way.
Yeah. I think it's really fun to think about it too, because like I think like right now as people are, you know, slowly kind of making that make or break decision of, do you want to be a content creator? Do you want to be a streamer? Do you just want to play games? I think it's always like one of those really hard things, you know, because like what I think a lot of people don't always understand is that, you know, when something as simple as gaming becomes a hobby, you enjoy it because it becomes a choice. It becomes a option to engage with over time, you know? And I think it's one of those things where you gotta really understand that like when streaming becomes a job, it always runs that risk of having to become less of an enjoyment. You know, like if you wake up and gaming is your 9 to 5 and you have to make content, sometimes it's a very difficult thing for people to kind of swallow, you know?
Yeah, you'll burn yourself into the ground doing the same thing over and over again.
Oh, for sure. And so, Brandon, do you do like YouTube things now, or do you mostly just keep it to streaming?
I keep it to streaming, just because with the way that my tech is, I can't make YouTube videos.
Okay.
It's just not working, and I think I need to just upgrade my whole PC to be able to record videos again.
Sure.
I still do vlogging, but it's really hidden, so people can't really see it.
Wow.
just because, like, I love to yap, and, like, I don't have anybody to yap to. So I kind of just talk to the camera still.
Oh yeah.
And just like a personal diary like kind of thing. And
Sure.
that kind of really helps me get that energy out without having the risk of people knowing who I am.
Sure. So like for you, do you feel like you want to, like, if you were to have like better money and all that, like, would you say that like your current limitation is just because the tech issues?
I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the tech issues. If I could like record videos with with my model and everything, I would definitely do that.
Yeah.
I'd be able to make my videos again and talk about things that I want to talk about without doing the streaming. I mean, I do love streaming. I love streaming so much. It really helps me like be social without going outside.
Yeah.
But I do miss recording YouTube videos.
Heck yeah, though. So what I want to kind of get into it with these things today is the fact that, like, I have witnessed in my days of streaming, both with other people and with other communities, I have witnessed communities come together and perform acts of generosity that I've never seen before. And this is in terms of, like, you know, uplifting moments of, like, you know, good affirmations, uplifting moments of like, hey, Brandon, here's a gift. Like, have you ever had a moment in your community that has just been like examples of extreme generosity?
I think I remember somebody like gifting me or like giving me bits like out of nowhere, and they did it like once a year for like a couple of years, and that was nice. I miss them. I don't know where they are, but I hope they're doing well.
Yeah.
And then when I hit that 50 follower threshold, I was so happy. It just like came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Those are the things I remember. Also, anytime anybody gives me a sub, I'm just like, oh my god, thank you.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
And it's so insane because, like, for me, it's like I always sometimes feel bad. Like I almost like gaslight myself that I somehow pressured someone to giving me a sub or giving me bits, because like for me, I'm still kind of in that moment in my streaming thing where I want to be I don't want people to spend money on me, you know? Like, to me, like, being in my stream is gift enough. But sometimes I feel like as a creator, we have to almost like the financial gains we become from being creators tends to just, you know, lead to people wanting to give you money because they want to, and then it's like, oh, thanks, homie.
Thanks.
Like just recently we had our guest Yagu, who was previously a PNG tuber, right? And a member of his community and artist by the name of Digi Vareli, the next day after our podcast show actually gifted him a Vroid model.
Dude, that's sick.
And she actually made it on stream with him and for him, and like, because like it was literally like we had no knowledge. I had no knowledge of this, especially. But like we had the podcast, we talked about, oh, you're a PNG tuber right now, what would you want to do? It's like, oh, if I could, you know, turn and, you know, look more than just one direction for being a PNG model, that'd be great. Yeah. And then the next day it's like, boom, 3D model, here's a Vroid. It's like, oh my god, hello.
Hell yeah.
Like when you make those connections with people that just have extraordinary talents, something about it just really brings in a fun degree of excitement. And I think that one of the biggest things that's really important is that to anyone who's watching here today, no matter your talents or your personal opinions of how little talents you think you have, it's important to remember that your presence and your friendship and your ability to just engage with the streamer and the community is something that we as streamers appreciate wholeheartedly. Never consider the financial contribution as a way to say that, oh, you are quote unquote better, you know?
Money doesn't equal happiness, but it definitely helps.
It definitely helps. It definitely, I was like, if anyone wants to give me a small loan of $1 million, I appreciate it.
Okay, Donald Trump.
Okay. Just saying.
But my if Kisuke didn't make my model, I would not be a VTuber. I think that's the biggest present that anybody's ever given me.
I definitely have experienced my share of like thankfulness from my community as well. Like, for example, Kisuke made my background track for my stream, and now I have a really cool soundtrack that I use every single one of my YouTube videos for my ending.
He cooks.
Oh, he cooks so good. He cooks so good. And you know, I think it's like one of those things where like when you as a streamer eventually engage in those people who have those extra talents that not everybody has, something about just like how giddy we can get when you're gifted something from those people where it's like, oh, Kisuke is a musician who makes really badass things. Here's a soundtrack. Psh. Oh, here's a designer friend of mine who made me a logo. Psh. True story for me.
Yeah,
like it's just those rare interactions that we tend to get where it just becomes really fun, and in the long run it's something that we really get to appreciate, you know?
Yeah. So
in regards to that, I have another little kind of open-ended question we can kind of talk to in regards to the importance of the community. So like one of the biggest challenges that tends to come around, especially in larger communities, is the parasocialism of streamers and communities.
Oh God.
Parasocialism is one of the biggest problems that streamers tend to deal with. And for context, those who do not understand what it is, in a simplest way to put it, parasocialism is the point where your audience wants to know more about you outside of streams to the point where they want to be almost to a sense of being too formal or too comfortable with you. And Brandon, I want to get in a conversation with you today about the importance of boundaries and how you think you've been able to establish boundaries within your community.
That's really open-ended, isn't it?
It is because like in a lot of ways, if you really think about it like this, you know, because like for example, in my community, I tell my community a lot about things. I tell them about my wife. I tell them about my plans I'm doing outside of stream. I keep myself... My wife. I like saying that. It's my favorite phrase, my wife.
Yeah.
And I tell them a lot of things outside of stream out of comfort because I want them to know that I am still a person outside of my model. I basically ruin the immersion to kind of prevent them from getting too comfortable. Yeah. But also I'm not going to tell them where I live. My immersion. It's the most common problem. So yeah. So like, how do you feel you've been able to establish boundaries within your community, if there is any?
Right now, there definitely is boundaries. Like, only like a small group of people know like about my situation with my mom and you know, situation going on at home and you know what I look like.
Yeah.
But I tend to keep myself more like definitely more open, more than most VTubers. I know that a lot of VTubers, they just want to be like a little character on the internet and be that, and that's it. But
yeah.
But I like sharing my life as much as I can without, you know, throwing in too much personal information out there. I definitely don't want to risk losing my job or finding out, you know, where I live or anything.
Yeah.
I think I've been doing pretty well in that regard, and Kisuke helps me out a lot because he knows how to do the boundaries thing.
Oh yeah, and it's so important to be able to have that ability to, you know, maintain those boundaries. And the reason why I brought it up today is because, you know, for anyone who's watching you today, if you are a fellow creator, it is important to understand that your community is never going to badmouth you because you have placed those boundaries. In my opinion, if anything, they're going to respect you because you understand the limitations, you know, because at the end of the day, as you grow and engage with more and more people and different personalities, someone somewhere is going to take something too far. And it doesn't even become a meme at the point. Sometimes there are people out there who will literally do so much. And, you know, one of the most common things, at least in the, like for creators especially, is women. Like, women have to deal with parasocial issues the most because, you know, people get a little bit too attached to a person, a YouTuber, and they get a little bit problematic. And it's a very dangerous thing. Sexism, exactly. And I think one of the biggest things is that you have the ability to rely on your community, but also you have the ability to, you know, make sure your community understands the limitations of how far you're willing to go for your character, for the immersion. Yeah. And like, my biggest thing is, like, I tell people all the time, you know, it's like, I'm okay with doing a lot of things with my community and talking a lot of stuff. And I do tell people, hey, none of that, or hey, calm down a little bit. You know, and I've banned people. I've banned multi-year long members of my community, all because they went too parasocial at one point in time, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I've had to recently tell somebody to stop talking about certain topics in chat, and they got a little butthurt. But
yeah,
I mean, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
Yeah, you have to, at the end of the day, you have to protect your community and your personal sanity, you know, because certain things that our community wants to talk about may not be suitable for on-camera streams, you know? Like, yeah, and that's the importance of rules. And again, I think people should feel a degree of, you know, safety, a degree of, you know, everything being, you know, set in stone. And there's no reason to hate a streamer because we chose to have our communities be, you know, guided in a certain way.
Yeah.
So, and also for those who are watching here today on the live recording tonight, if you guys do have any questions you would like to ask myself or Brandon at any given time, do not be afraid to ask down in the comments section. Myself or mods will do the best that we can to make sure that we catch them and ask them appropriately. But thank you guys again for being here today. But yeah, so I think the reason why I brought it up too, Brandon, is because, like, it's really hard nowadays to discern who is joining your community, you know, because, for example, I recently had a discussion with my mods and admins about talking about, you know, is my server an 18+ server, in the respect that I don't necessarily want to have minors and children involved in my streams. And, you know, there's a yes and no for me for that statement, because to me myself, I do not make 18+ content. I myself am not a very
you're not a Project Melody.
Yes. And, you know, Melody is a very interesting case too, because, like, yes, the type of content she makes is 18+, but she is also very welcoming in her streamer aspect of things, or the Twitch aspect of stuff. And I think, you know, for me personally, I will never make an only Nico fans thing, because, you know, as much as
who uses that website?
Gooners. Where are my subs going to? Well, you know, at the end of the day, they're going to fund my wife's college. All right, that's all my streaming is going to, guys.
That's so important.
All the feet pics, all the emo butt, all the Nico butt emote sales, which are real, by the way. Those are going to fund my wife's college. All right.
That's crazy,
you know. And, you know, I think it's just like one of those things where, like, sometimes I think we have to understand there are limitations to the types of people who should be involved in certain types of our communities, you know. And plus, 18+ does not mean NSFW, like Yagu's just said. You know, that is such an important context, because 18+ can just mean you may involve adult context, or, you know, you yourself conversations, because, like, for me, I'm 18+ in the context that I talk a lot about adult context. I talk a lot about, you know, things that are not suitable for children, but I'm not going to give out like sexual artwork, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want, someone wants to
I was
make
reading
it.
the chat. I was reading the chat.
Drop the hammer. And so Brandon, again, if you don't wish to talk about this type of thing, we're more than okay with it. But do you consider yourself 18 plus as a?
Yes.
Okay. And would it be for like the types of things that you post, or just because the conversations you want to have?
It's right now. It's mainly conversations.
Sure.
There are like secret, hint, hint, wink, wink, plans, but right now it's just conversations.
Sure.
So, I just don't like dealing with like anybody, like who are children. I can't relate. I can't handle it.
Sure.
That's just not where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I like being very open and honest and having adult conversations.
Yeah. Like for myself, you know, one of the biggest things that I like to do is I tell everybody in my stream, so long as you do not act the age, I will consider you a quote unquote adult in the way that your mannerisms carry you. Because I will talk like I will talk at a public restaurant. You know, I will talk in ways that is like acceptable for an adult to speak. And if you want to pitch in and give me your ideas, great. But if you act like a child, I may have to remove you from my stream because I do not have intentions of downgrading myself. For example, a lot of times whenever I multi-stream on YouTube, which is where a lot of my children viewers come around for some ungodly reason, I have a lot of children who don't like it when I swear. They say like, hey, watch your language. Hey, watch your language. And I'm just like, nope, ban. Because it's like,
watch my language.
Watch my language. Do you not know what this is? This ain't no damn daycare.
Hell no.
This ain't no daycare. And it's like, because like for me, it's like I will swear, but only in context. I am not going to be like I'm not like a 2010 Call of Duty person, you know? Like I'm not gonna be.
I don't want to think about Call of Duty.
Like
hostile forces detected.
Big raid coming in. Thank you, Grim, for the raid. I appreciate it. But
That's crazy.
But yeah, like I think it's important to remember that like overall, when it comes to the importance of the people that we have in our communities and in our streams, it's very, very important to remember that 18 plus is not just sexual content. 18 plus is just that we are all adults. I will curse within context, but I am not going to be every 5 seconds like a sailor.
Yeah. That's me when I play Splatoon though.
Hey, there are some games that I will throw hands and I will put out some verbal shenanigans. Like if you ever see me play Dark Souls and someone decides to throw in a handicap on me, I'm like, you son of a, and I'll just start like blaring my I have a bleep button on my XLR, so it's like, you son of, and then so on, just all manners of things,
funny.
You know.
That's funny.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very like an adult person. If somebody says how old they are and they're like a child, I'm gonna kick them out. I haven't seen anything happen yet, but I'm gonna kick them.
Yeah. And you know, I think like to me it's like I know I have children in my streams sometimes because they've inevitably, I don't know what it is, children love telling you how old they are and they're always like below 15.
They're so honest.
They're so honest, it hurts. It's like we're over here.
Like, you poor soul. Goodbye. Come back in a few years.
Come back in a few years. Goddamn. You know, it's like I'm over here trying to stream a game, and it's like, oh, hi, first time viewer. Da 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 da. By the way, I'm 6. And it's like, why?
Why are you here?
Why are you here?
Go eat your chicken nuggets in peace. Go
your...
watch Bluey, please.
Hey, Bluey can be an adult show too. Okay, I have cried on Bluey episodes.
Fun fact, I've never seen it.
Honestly, Bluey is low-key such a, like, it's a show that's kid-toned, but the underlying themes are so hardcore hitting for adults. Like, there's an episode out there where the mom dog, Chili, has a sister, right? And it's her aunt. And the episode talks about how Chili's sister isn't allowed to have kids because she physically can't, but the one thing she wants in the world is to have kids, you know.
I've heard about that episode. Yeah.
Oh, it hurts so bad. There was another episode that it's an episode called Camping. I've watched my wife bawl her eyes out. Like I'll be streaming and I'll turn my eyes and I'll see as she's crying and I'll see what episode it is and I'm like, oh. And the premise of the episode was it's Bluey and her family go camping and Bluey meets a French dog named, I think his name's Louis, probably not, but it's a language barrier back and forth, and then they're camping, and eventually he tells her in French, hey, I'm leaving, I won't be able to play anymore, and Bluey doesn't notice that, and she gets really sad when he leaves. But then it comes around later where it's like X amount of years in the future where they're adults and they reunite.
Aw.
And it's like the whole thing about like friendship is like a forever thing. Moral of the story,
Yeah.
Bluey hits you like a truck when you're an adult and you can read into the context.
I completely understand that. I've never watched it, but I can understand that it can be a hard show with like really good lessons. So yeah, I see my man's in the chat.
It's the man's in the chat. Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, like back to the topic about like, you know, the importance of keeping an eye on children who show up into your streaming space, you know. I think like for me, like I said, I'm okay with having younger audience members. However, when you act a certain way for your age, it gets to the point where it's going to be too awkward for me to have you in my stream and I will ban you because of your age, you know.
That's understandable. Yeah.
And,
but with me, it's completely different.
and understandable, you know. And I think it comes down to where like as a creator, we have every right to maintain our audience as needed, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think any streamer should ever be blamed for banning somebody because of age, because at the end of the day, the internet's dangerous. Whether
there's people who are not going to be nice.
Yeah, people who are not going to be nice, people are going to be a little bit creepy, and you know,
a little bit.
I'm being hopeful here. but yeah, it's such an important thing to be so visually prepared for in the event that something ever happens on stream, because at the end of the day, if something happens to a child on your stream, sometimes you can almost feel responsible unintentionally, and it gets really dangerous.
Yeah.
Really dangerous. Plus there are laws like Copo that we can get into. Exactly, you know.
Yeah, for
and
real.
Like
there's a lot of barriers that I have to keep children away, so
yeah. And you know, for me it's like very recently, you know, I had a situation with a mod that, you know, we had an interaction with somebody who just blatantly said, oh, I'm 13 years old, and I'm like, damn it, because for me it's like I'm always down to have people in my community, especially in my Discord, because I don't publish anything on Discord that would hurt or scar a child, other than maybe talking about like weird shit. But otherwise, like my Discord is quote unquote safe for younger audiences.
It's mainly safe. Yeah.
But like to me, it's one of those where like if in the event we ever have a problem where a child just gets too ridiculous, I may have to turn my Discord into an 18+ environment for the sake of, you know, the maturity necessity, you know? Because like, yeah, no, Keyskate, yours isn't. I accidentally almost showed your NSFW stream on chat because I was trying to find something one time on camera. I'm like, fuck. let's just say the sausage was big. The amount of times I've had to delete VODs because I've accidentally browsed through Discord and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, sausage party. Like, no. God damn it. I sometimes hate how Discord does that. You know, I sometimes hate how Discord like leaves you on the last tab you were on. Like, just put me on the fucking general chat or the fucking page. The sausage being made, beaten, abused, and glazed.
That's insane.
You know, it's just that's
happened to me before. Yeah.
God, but yeah. So, moral of the story, folks: if you are a younger individual who happens to be a part of my Discord community, but like, please understand that I am happy to have you in my streams, but just understand that act responsible, act mature, but be mindful that you are not going to have access to some things. Like, for example, one thing that I've recently implemented for myself is I'm not going to collab with people who are under 18, at least in a voice collab.
Absolutely not. I refuse to play games or collaborate with anybody who's a child.
Yeah. Like, for me, it's like if I'm playing Fortnite, for example, and it's open lobbies, sure, you know, you are
Fortnite,
always allowed.
yeah.
Fortnite, yeah.
Makes sense.
You know, Fortnite's like Minecraft, where everyone thought Fortnite was just a child's game, but now it's like you have adults making millions playing Fortnite on the daily.
Yeah.
God. But no, like, I think, again, it comes down to a personal boundary of mine when it comes to, like, I'm down to play with you guys, but I will not be in a voice call because this may sound really mean, I can't handle squeaker voices.
I just don't like children.
That's fair. I have a weird thing with children voices. Like, I hate Kids Bop with a burning passion.
Yo, Kids Bop sucks. Anyway.
I actually one time I ran into a live recording of Kids Bop when I was in a beach in Florida.
Wow.
The fucking directors are so mean. Like they're like, come on, 1, 2, da da da, 3, 4, da da da, and then they turn around, fucking kids.
Yep, that makes sense.
Hell yeah. But in terms of, like, you know, advantages and things that we've dealt with as like building communities, you know. So, like, Brandon, a question I have for you is, how do you deal with, like, some of the negativity and toxicity within your community as it arises? You know, whether it's like a dispute or maybe a more serious conversation that should be more maybe taken to DMs.
Well, I mentioned it before, there was like a chatter in my chat one day who just like kept it talking about like negative stuff, and eventually we just had to be like, we tried to make it more positive, but then eventually that's all they wanted to talk about was the negativity of their situation.
Yeah.
And we were just like, if you're gonna, we're here to have fun and have a good time, you know, keep that elsewhere. We're not licensed therapists, you know. That's been my main issue, is that like people will come in and try and talk about, like, you know, my home life is not good, or I'm lonely. It's like, what do you want me to do about it? I'm just like some weird anime boy on the internet.
and you know, honestly, that's such a hard part. Is like, in a lot of ways, you know, we as creators want nothing more than to be there for our community members. We want to be helpful in regards to when things happen, but it's so hard when people want us to be, like you said, therapists. And, you know, there's a limitation to, like, how much you should lean onto a stream before you actually need professional help.
Yeah, there's a rule in my Discord, and there's no venting channel. Like, some servers will have like a channel where you can just like talk about your problems, but I don't have that, and it's very like a strict rule. If you're there just to talk about your mental health, I encourage you to seek therapy. I'm not here for that.
Yeah. I used to have a venting channel, but like it came down to the point where the people who were using it were physically bringing me down so immense. Like it brings down the general mood, you know, like it brings down like your everything. Yeah. And like the Discord vibe should always be positive, you know, and I was like, if you need help, you know, ask a mod or ask to like, if anything, at the very maximum, ask for someone on general if they're open to talk about something, you know. But like, public spaces are not places to talk. And, you know, I think some people may have an opinion about that. But like, for me, I had to get rid of my venting channel because it just became a really hard problem, you know?
A timeout for trauma dumping? Yeah, that makes sense. I should probably do that.
For me, it's like, if I find people who are trauma dumping, I usually will delete the trauma dump and I'll tell them, hey, I understand you're going through a rough time. Do you want to talk about it privately? Because again, because like you got to protect other individuals and other people. Because like the hard part, like when you're running a larger server, is you have so many people with so many mentalities, tolerances, and so on. Like I'm pretty sure, like when someone trauma dumps too, it's like you come down to the issue that people are going to find that, you know, they may get overstimulated or they may get hella depressed from seeing a trauma dump, and it affects other people, you know. Yeah. And that's where you gotta like, it's the give and take, and you gotta really focus on that when protecting your community, you know?
For sure. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. The one thing that like I do is I try to put myself in other people's shoes, be like, how would somebody feel if they saw this certain topic being discussed? Like, we're just not here for that. And then there's another thing of protecting myself. Like there's conversations I would rather not have. So those kind of topics are like banned from being talked about. And if it gets brought up, I will remove them from conversation.
And that's good. I think one of the biggest things, like as a streamer, we have to be very almost aggressive when it comes to defending our own rules, you know, because when one person trauma dumps, everybody will trauma dump. And if you don't nip it in the bud, it becomes favoritism. It's like, oh, well, why'd you ban me if he didn't get it?
Yeah, everybody will think that it's okay, and eventually it'll like spiral out of control.
Yeah.
So you have to do it quickly, or else it'll just be a mess.
So for those who are watching here today, understand that in regards to, you know, the mental health situation of a community, it's important to understand that if you are a visitor of a Discord, understand that if you are ever feeling the sense of feeling down and or feeling the point where you need a person to talk to that you can somewhat trust, understand that there is a line between trust of a stranger and trust of a friend. Because, for example, unless you genuinely have a connection with that streamer, do everything you can to seek proper help. There are a lot of resources out there when it comes to giving yourself access to someone who knows how to properly help you versus just saying, damn, that's rough, buddy. Because that's not going to help you.
Yeah.
And another thing too is like, when it comes to trauma dumping, it can affect streamers negatively, and it can affect your whole Discord community negatively. So obviously be mindful of when you choose to invoke that sort of action. And if anything, seek someone in your Discord who is willing to talk to you in a DM and work it out from there. But at the end of the day, nothing is more proper than genuinely good professional help.
Yes.
Brought to you by this let's get some sponsors on the podcast. Let's go.
Imagine.
Sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's go.
Oh, don't. No, BetterHelp bad.
BetterHelp bad. But nevertheless, though, like I said, find ways to help yourselves out. But yeah, like I said, being in a community that helps you out is a really important thing. And there's more than just like mental help when it comes to having people available to assist with. Like for me, I think that having mentors in a community is really helpful to have. Like for me, I feel like I've been trying lately to not necessarily mentor, but kind of inspire people in my Discord to seek out more ways to become more successful creators, whether it's on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. Because like my biggest thing over the past 2-3 months has been to genuinely find a way to make myself more able to provide my advice that I have seen. Because like I've been really hell-bent on trying to grow as a creator, like in a way of actually finding growth, not just being complacent at my current level. So like I've done a thing, like I've added a whole forum of places where people can like rate my Twitch. Here's what I've learned research wise about what you can do to be a better creator, posting more often on more platforms and so on. Like I want to try to help and mentor other people who are either starting out content creation or need a good kick in the butt to, you know, move forward in their goals.
Have that little push, you know?
Yeah. So like, for you, Brandon, have you ever felt like you've been able to mentor someone in your community, or have you ever been mentored to better yourself? And what was it like?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's me looking for, you know, some kind of advice or anything. I'm pretty like, I'm gonna say I'm dumb. So I don't teach nobody nothing.
You ain't got no wrinkles in that brain.
Oh yeah, smooth brain.
Smooth brain.
I'm just a dumb little dog.
Dumb little dog. Well, you're a cool dog.
Really? Oh my god.
So in terms of like advice, like what would you say you would be looking for from other people in terms of mentorship?
Networking, because I'm not good at it. That's the biggest thing I've been having an issue with. Is it like I know that there are people out there who just refuse to do any kind of collaboration, because whether it be numbers or like you're a nobody or you're just some random chatter, like I don't want to be too pushy. So at this point it's been like I will just hang out in people's streams and be like, I want to hang out with them, I want to play games with them, you know, I want to do stuff with them, but I'm just a nobody, and they're just going to see me as another wall of text in their chat.
That's fair. And I understand that 100%. And like one of the biggest things for me personally is I have been pushing to break through my own mold of being a solo streamer, because, you know, the whole reason I started this podcast initially is I started this podcast as a way for me to genuinely get out and not be so independent. Like, we're celebrating now episode 5 of my podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I've been able to engage with people in such a personal level that now whenever I make content or make videos or Twitch streams, I can tell people why I recommend Brandon the Chihuahua for joining and hanging out with us, you know? Because like, to me, one of the biggest barriers when it comes to like talking to people and building that community is I don't know them enough outside of when they're live and having a good day, or when they're maybe having a bad day. And it's like you said, networking is a really, really difficult thing. And this podcast was my way to kind of slowly but surely be engaged with other people.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think like one thing to like, this is a mentality that I've been telling a lot of people lately, is if you can surround yourself with other like-minded individuals in the ways of how forward-thinking they are, inevitably, mentally, you will want to push yourself further and go and do things you may not have initially been comfortable with because you're trying to, you know, break your mold. Whereas if you work with people who are more timid, maybe less forward thinking about their content, you're going to find that you're not going to want to push yourself as hard because people around you are not doing things differently, or they're not pushing themselves outward. So like, finding a community of people who are pushing and trying to make things happen as content creators, I think is inspiring, because even as streamers, we can be inspired by our own community, if you know, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think like one of the most common challenges with building a community right now on stream is that, you know, we want nothing more than to grow with our community. And I think it's helpful when you have people in your community who are also growing, you know? Give me 1 second. Get my water, my dry throat. When I soapbox, I can't breathe, or I don't
hydrate
drink.
or dihydrate.
I've
been drinking water like every few minutes because I have a large liver, so I have to drink a lot of water.
You are physically built different.
Yes.
Hell yeah. So like for you, Brandon, as you grow and you think of the community you are part of, what role do you think your communities will play in regards to your content evolution? Like how do you think your community is going to help you grow as a creator?
I don't know. I'm basically just like a blank slate right now. So I just want to see where it takes me and where it goes.
Sure.
I'm not looking for any kind of end goal or anything. I just want to be able to enjoy, you know, the vibes with people.
Yeah. So would you, I guess like in a way to kind of look at it like this, in your opinion, if you had the community to bolster your numbers and bolster your goals, would you rather a community that spreads your name more, or would you rather a community that just engages with you and makes every stream like a big back and forth meeting of other people?
Oh, that second one, 100%. I don't care that like people remember my name. I just want people to have fun, and if somebody like meets somebody in my community and they get married, that's like a win. I love that.
Hell yeah. That's a really cool and wholesome way to look at it too.
I just like, I love it when people get together and they like enjoy each other's company. like I do that. Hell yeah. I just want people to like enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
And if I help, then that's awesome.
Yeah. Because like I think it's like one of those things where like, you know, there are communities out there that can do both at the same time. You know, there are people out there where you eventually will become a community where people will say, oh hell yeah, Nico Silverado or Brandon Chihuahua made a new YouTube video, I'm gonna tell all my friends about it, and they like become like your biggest cheerleaders. But then you have those community members who are like, oh hell yeah, Brandon's live right now, let's do a thing. And then it's like, boom, you have like the best back and forth chatter ever, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I try not to be too self-absorbed.
You gotta kind of expand yourself. They gotta be humble every so often, you know?
Yep, be humble, yes.
Be humble. So Brandon, and this is a question I've been recently wanting to ask a lot of people in terms of a fun opinion about it. So Brandon, in terms of your content creation right now as a Twitch streamer, would you rather have 100 people, 100 new viewers every month, or would you rather 10 new viewers every month from the time you end, from now until the time you end streaming?
Ooh, I've been listening to you ask everybody this. Definitely the slow-paced 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because the 100 is going to send me into an anxiety attack. like, I would just like be so anxious that I would get sick, and I would be just like, no.
Yeah. And you know, because like the reason why I've been asking that question to all of my guests is because like it's such a fun concept to think about in the long run. Because for those who may have missed in down, the question is, as a streamer right now, would you rather have 10 new viewers join your channel every single month to the point where they are hanging out with you, joining you, and are now a part of your community? Or would you rather the 100 viewers every month and then it just skyrockets? Now, when you think about it like this, over the course of the month, 100 may not be that much in some ways. But the other thing about too, like right now, chat, we have freaking 22 people watching this podcast right now live. Imagine that, but now expedited to like 4 or 5 times. Like one of the biggest things is that like as a creator, sometimes we have to think, do we want a fast-paced growth or a slower paced growth? Because for me, I would almost kind of would prefer the slower paced growth, because for me as a streamer of my size, I cherish the ability to learn and know about every single person that comes onto my channel. I love being able to learn the lore basically of my viewers. Like for example, I know a lot of viewers who are, my editor I met, I'm learning about him moving to a new apartment. I'm learning about people who are going through design school. Like I like being able to learn about the physical people that are a part of my community. And I have a fear, right? This is a fear that we talked about briefly with Plucky on our last episode. We talked about how the fear of growing so fast that you can't keep track of your people anymore. Do you ever have that fear, Brandon?
Definitely, because of the fact that like if something gets out of hand, like whether it be like a conversation or there's some like internal like fan drama. Hi Tater. It's it seems like pretty terrifying. I imagine it like, imagine being in a small room with that many amount of people, and imagine trying to corral them. That would be insane. So I think the going the slow way is definitely the better way, especially like you'll eventually learn to handle a bigger group to a point where like you don't even notice that it grew.
And I think it's such a big thing to like, you know, be aware as a streamer like how much your community is growing, because you know honestly it's such a wild experience, like witnessing your community physically grow, especially from just the engagement aspect of it all. Because like for me, for example, if I look at my Discord last year, my Discord was tumbleweeds and crickets. There was maybe like 1 or 2 occasional posts from like a mod, but like I'm witnessing so much more engagement from my people, and it's because like I've invited more people who've engaged in more contact. And you know, again, like a community is built with so many different faces and so many different types of people that, like, when you really think about it like this too, you can get some really fun people to join your community. Like, for example, I don't remember doing this, but I accidentally invited an IRL friend of mine to my Discord, and I found out that they are like a whiz kid when it comes to building Discords. And
wow.
And my Discord got overhauled so much. Like,
was that the recent change?
Yeah, all the recent changes was because I accidentally invited a friend of mine to my Discord. I have no memory of inviting them.
I remember I was like, who is this person and why are they adding you in every chat?
Yeah, because originally they were like saying, hey Nico, by the way, you have a lot of vulnerabilities in your stream. And it's like, oh no, what do you mean vulnerabilities? And then because like I thought to myself, oh, no one can at everybody here in my channel, no one's going to be able to do that. Meanwhile, then within 30 seconds it's like you have 9 channels that are easy to access. It's like, shit. And then over the course, like,
lots of changes.
Oh my god! And over the course of like the past like 3 days, you know, my Discord has become, I think, the safest it's ever been, but also the most organized and like interactive. And
it's so much better. I'm gonna say that right now.
It's so much better than what it was, and like I love it because it makes me feel better as a creator, seeing a sense of organization. Because like, to me, I've never been very confident in how I can give my community back more stuff. Like, because our communities, they give us a lot of stuff as creators. They give us a lot of time, effort, and in some cases gifts. And like, to me, my Discord as it is now is a way that I can begin to give back to my community. So, and this kind of leads up to my next question here, Brandon. If money wasn't an issue, how would you give back to your community in terms of like, whether it's like monetary value or just events? Like, what would you do to give back to your community more if you could?
Probably charity.
Mm-hmm.
I would do charity. Lots of charity streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
For me,
that's amazing. That and like probably just like giving subs or like actually having money to like pay mods.
Oh yeah. No, 100%. So like one personal thing that I would love to do one day, this is like a bucket list dream item. It's an event that I call Saint Nico, where during Christmas time, everybody in my community is allowed to ask for one item in a Christmas list that's under $50.
Oh, that's cute. That's so cute. What the fuck? And
then me wearing a Santa-like outfit, I would gift people in our community, when I can, a random assortment. I would do like maybe like $500 budget for a year, and then I would do a $500 worth of gifted Christmas gifts to my community via like their thrones.
That's cute. Yeah, that's cute.
Because like, you know, I don't have the ability anymore to give back what I used to do, because like back when I was an independent designer during peak COVID life, I used to try to give giveaways to my streamers in my community by giving away emo packs and other like basic graphic design items. It came down to the point where I was always giving the same 3 people those prizes, and it felt like I wasn't able to give people things anymore because, you know, there wasn't enough variety of people involved in my charity attempts.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. You know, it's difficult to like understand like how to give back, because like not everybody's a streamer. Not everybody's going to want emotes as a thing. So like it's a pain in the butt, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say like, you know, like for me, it's like I try my best to listen to my community very often, and they've given me a lot of fun changes. And the question I want to kind of follow up with this one here, Brandon, is like, has your community ever inspired you to do something major differently in your content creation, or just for you? Like, have they inspired you to make a change?
One of the recent changes I had was I put out polls every once in a while to get people's advice and, you know, opinion on things. And then if certain things are voted on, then that's what I do. Like I recently just decided like, hey, I'm gonna put marbles on stream as a redeem, because I think it would be fun to have the chat interact with each other as well as me to see whose marble can race the fastest at the end or whatever. And then like I recently have started doing like a watch along on my server, and it was because people were interested. So I think getting opinions from the people in your Discord server or in your chat here is definitely something that you can do, and it really helps you.
Yeah.
Both, like create community as well as like get to know them.
Yeah. And I think that's such a cool thing though, is to like have that way to involve yourself with those people, because like again it comes back down to the whole system where like, you know, at the end of the day, you as a creator are so ingrained in the lives of your audience. Like there are people who are like, oh yeah, it's Monday at 10 a.m. Nico should be live. And then when I'm not live, it's like, no, Nico's not live. Pitchforks come bursting through my walls. Like, where are you, you bastard?
Yeah. I love that. That's so silly.
Oh, it's fantastic though. But yeah, it's just like, you know, it comes down to the point where like we don't think about it at first, but we really do become the day-to-day routine for a lot of our viewers, and it's awesome. I
love that.
I love being that. I love being a way to like really, you know, be a part of the life of somebody, you know. And again, like I love learning a lot about my community's IRL lives when they choose to disclose it, because it's really fun to just learn, you know, hey, this guy's getting married, this guy's moving, like the lore of the members is fun. The lore.
The lore.
The door. I love it. But no, it's just the way that support system goes, and like the support of our community is so much fun. And so Brandon, I want, like, as an open-ended question, what kind of support systems do you think that content creators need that communities can often provide? You know, like not even necessarily like your own community, but like as a creator, what do you think joining communities gives you in terms of support?
I really like when creators ask for opinions from their chat and not just like ignores what the chat wants to see. I mean, obviously, like creators, they can do whatever they want, you know, whether it be like in a YouTube video or if they're doing something on their streams, like they can do whatever. It's their content, it's their channels, whatever. But I think that if you want to keep the people around you who are like genuinely like giving good vibes, you probably should get some kind of like opinion on what to do next.
Yeah.
And from your fan base or whoever that you're hanging out with. That's one of the biggest things that I've seen, is that like a lot of big names, they'll just ignore what people are saying and just do whatever they want, and eventually their attention kind of like dwindles.
Yeah. I think it's such a big thing, like to be able to have that connection with a streamer too, because like I feel like as a viewer, I feel like viewers want to build that connection with every streamer that they make a connection with, because like it feels cool to be able to say, oh yeah, I got to influence Brandon's latest stream, or hey, Brandon took my advice to heart. Like you get to involve yourself with that person. And again, the big silver line I always want to talk about is like, communities are people. Communities are a part of us. They're a part of as much of our content creation as we are making it. It's so much, because again, like if you don't support your community, they won't support you. You know, support their opinions.
It's a two-way street.
It is a two-way street. And I think sometimes like when we do witness those like larger individuals and people, it comes down to the point where it becomes a peanut gallery, where there are so many different opinions in one mash of places. It's kind of hard to just pick one group of opinions. Like obviously you're going to want to pick the opinion that makes you, the creator, feel the most valid and or the most, you know, appropriate. So like, right. I think inevitably it comes down to a point where, you know, the opinions that we have are going to get molded by our chat. And this is to me a big thing. I think we can we influence our chat to change how they think.
I mean, hopefully in a positive way.
Obviously, you know, like, because like, you know, one very terrifying thing that I oftentimes see a lot of larger creators do is the fact that, like, in some ways, creators who decide, hey, this is how I feel about this one opinion or this one thing, somehow we will hive mind it, and everyone else will say, oh, because he doesn't like this, I don't like this.
Right.
And so, like, do you think, Brandon, that content creators have the power of influence to heavily change the opinions of people in our communities?
Yes. Example, Asmongold.
You know, honestly, I had him in the back of my brain to talk about, but you read my mind. Like,
I can't stand that man.
No, he's got hot takes. He's got some really, like, lukewarm hot takes that just make me say, the fuck you mean?
He's got like diarrhea. He's got diarrhea hot takes.
He's got diarrhea hot takes. And it just kind of brings about where, like, you know, when you verbalize your opinions to the level of that, for example, you will inevitably grow as a creator, but the opinions will only be of that like-minded thing. And, you know, it's really hard to have a different opinion with people who are so ridiculous, because what's really wild about it is that, like, all the time you get these creators out there who just take their community and they take their influence and notoriety to just publicly say something, and then it changes the entire dynamic of something in a positive or negative way, you know?
Yeah.
Do you think gonorrhea would have been a good name for a diarrhea medication?
Babe.
God.
Babe. He's showing his head assery right now.
We love head assery, though. I'm so excited for our show. It's gonna be so fucking good.
Get ready for tummy hurt from laughter.
Honestly, the podcast theme is just gonna be head ass. That's all it is. But nevertheless, though, it's one of those situations where, when you really think about it in the long run, like, creators have power over our community members, and I don't think our community members will oftentimes admit it, because sometimes, like, when an opinion is displayed in just the right fashion, without even realizing it, we will change our opinions to match the streamer, and then it becomes just kind of a wave of shenanigans.
Yeah. The word influence is included in the word influencer.
Yes.
And that's we are unfortunately part of that bag of crazy.
We are. And you know, it's like and I think one of the biggest things that, you know, creators need to have a handle on who and what they talk about. For example, I may have some negative opinions about certain creators, but I'm also not going to publicly gaslight the creator to invoke people saying, yeah, fuck that guy, or yeah, this is not a cool dude at all, you know?
Right, yeah.
Because one, it's irresponsible. It's irresponsible as creators to use our communities to gaslight an opinion. Like, for example, a common thing that I will oftentimes see on things like Twitter is in the VTuber space, the Google Doc saying my experience with blah, you know?
Oh gosh.
Because when you use your community as a weapon, it becomes a really big problematic thing. Because, like, when you have people who just love you and appreciate you for your soul, the moment you have a negative experience with a creator one time and you choose to use the internet to gaslight your opinion, it becomes a wave of just hate and threatening.
Yeah.
And
we're not here for that.
We're not. We really genuinely are not. And I don't think, to me, like, if I ever had an opinion about somebody, I will do everything in my power to keep it to a one-on-one personal situation. If the person did something genuinely diabolical, I might voice my opinion about it, but I will never ask my community to weaponize our numbers against somebody.
Absolutely not. That's not okay.
No. Because the biggest thing is, like, you know, if someone is negatively impacting my channel, my stream, I might make a notice, but I will tell them, do not throw a shade, do not throw mass hate, just accept them that they're not accepted in our community more. You can block or keep them on at your discretion, because at the end of the day, it should be their opinion.
Yeah,
it should be their opinion.
I agree with you. Yep.
So so Brandon, what platforms do you currently post and create content on?
Well, that's obviously here to Twitch. And then I do TikTok sometimes, like TikTok lives. That's a new thing, and it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. So much stress. I upload my VODs to YouTube, and sometimes I'll post random stuff on Blue Sky. That's mainly the only places where I go.
Sure. So, do you believe the platforms that you have been engaging with outside of Discord, for example, how do you feel those platforms have been able to shape your community?
That's an interesting question.
So
I don't know. I mean, like, I noticed that some people have come in from TikTok, which is pretty cool. I've been able to find more people I can play games with. But that's where the engagement is coming from right now is TikTok, which is crazy.
Yeah. So I guess like another way to like word the question is, do you feel like, how do you feel those platforms play a role in shaping your community? Like do you believe like because you interact with those places more, it allows your community to kind of like see more of you versus just like the occasional Twitch stream? So to put in perspective for me, for example, I've been heavily making more content on YouTube and TikTok, for example. So like for me, my YouTube content has shaped a lot of things where my community has become more content based or content focused from me versus streaming based, because I've been making more YouTube based things versus streaming.
Right. Yeah, I think if you're in one place, you're not going to really get very far. I know you said that in like previous episodes, and I agree with that. If I didn't start doing TikTok lives, I wouldn't see anything change. And ever since I started doing TikTok lives, and also posting on Blue Sky more and kind of connecting with other people there, I've been able to grow a little bit. It's slow, but it's better than no growth at all. So
yeah, because like I think like one of the interesting things, like I have noticed certain communities develop from certain platforms. For example, my Twitch community, my longest community, has a good variety of people, but mostly adults, because you know more adults use Twitch. But then YouTube, admittedly, has involved a lot more foreigners from my usual audience, like a lot of people who don't speak English very well. But then in addition to that, I also have a lot more children who show up from the YouTube streams.
yeah.
So like that's kind of like where like I've been able to get a lot more of a variety of ethnicities and age groups because I've expanded. And then TikTok, I get more people who are just solely focused on that particular type of content. Because like
I just like zoned out. Jesus Christ.
No, you're all good. You're fine. You're fine. Because like what I mean to say is that in a lot of ways, whenever I see something happen with any of my platforms, I notice that my community from TikTok is only interested in my TikTok side of things, and they do not come to my streams. But then my YouTube side, they enjoy the YouTube streams occasionally, but then they also are interested about what comes next in terms of content. And the Twitch side is usually a culmination of all of those communities, because I talk this all the time, but like it's very well known that Twitch does not have an algorithm to help you be discovered on only Twitch.
Yeah, I think that they should probably add something like that, like the way that TikTok does.
There actually is a thing in the works that, from what I saw, they're actually thinking about incorporating a vertical version of Twitch.
Oh yeah, I've heard about the way that with TikTok lives, like you tapping the screen and doing combos and stuff. They started doing that, but like for bits only, and I think that's kind of cool. but I've only seen it in like one other streamer's Twitch channel. I haven't seen it anywhere else yet. They're working on stuff to be more like TikTok. If only they would do the algorithm thing.
I think like the biggest issue too is like, to an extent, there is an algorithm for Twitch, but it's just the sheer mass of people.
It's butt cheeks.
It's butt cheeks. But also, like, if we think about it like in a more legitimate way too, objectively, how they recommend channels does make sense, in the respect that for someone who is looking for channels, you have no knowledge, no concept of anybody. You are less likely to click on somebody with 0 to 2 viewers versus clicking on someone who's at least like 5 to 10, because you want to find someone who on paper feels visually captivating enough to maintain an audience. Hence why the recommendations is usually like, if you can break past the 5 viewers and higher, then you can get better chances of being recommended on Twitch.
Yeah. I haven't really seen a huge like algorithm based system, really. I guess I just never really noticed it. But I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. And like you said, it is absolute butt cheeks when it comes to the system involving the creators and discoverability. Because like, you know, it's one of those things where like right now, the way with how content is short form right now. And I talked about this with my last episode of Plucky. There was a thing involving Ninja where he talked about how streaming is quote unquote dead because people don't look for streams anymore. They look for the short form. They look for the 30-second moments and then move on.
No, because people have like goldfish size memory.
Attention spans, you know, it's a hard thing. It's a very, very hard thing. And I think
I've realized, yeah.
it's difficult. And, you know, there are ways to grow, but the way that content has become, like, my mindset as a creator is unfortunately stuck in 2010.
Ugh. Me too.
my style and preferred method of growth on all of my platforms is stuck in 2010. Let's plays, live streams, marathons, and so on.
Yep.
It's one of those things where, like, obviously if you don't adapt, you're gonna fail. But like, to me, I'm kind of trying to go for the long haul, but also like, I think it's one of those things where I like to tell myself that it's not my time yet to get bigger, you know?
Your time will come.
My time will come. And like, I've been streaming for 7 years, and you know, I've been streaming like 40-hour weeks because I can, not because I want to.
You should do it because you want to.
I mean, like, I do it because like 8 hours of my day is just my job stream, and like, it's just a convenient way for me to stream as long as I do, and my community gets to see the art side of things. But then like, I want to do my gaming streams. It's like, again, like, my original mentality, honestly, is I've always wanted to grow because of Let's Play content. Like, again, back to like the whole 2010 thing. Like, I would have loved to have been able to grow because someone watched me play Five Nights at Freddy's one time and says, "Hey, this is a really funny video." Bam.
Yeah.
And
me with Indigo Park right now.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're totally good. And like, again, like, my brain wants nothing more than to grow from what I'm actively making right now. And ever since I've gotten an editor, it's been really helpful with me making more video content without sacrificing my sanity.
You have more time on your hands and more mental energy to do other things.
A lot more time. And, you know, it's one of those things where like, I thank my editor every day we talk to him, because, you know, it's one of those things where like, having someone show up from a YouTube short eventually becoming a quote unquote staff member is amazing to me, because I think that, you know, having that ability to remove that issue of time management is huge. And granted, I still make and edit my own things every so often, but like, it does get rid of a lot of problematic time management issues when I have someone to actually help with that creation.
Yeah.
So, Brandon, I would say like, excuse me. In the world of like being able to support yourself in terms of like you're making your own content, what kind of staff or what kind of people would you need in your day-to-day content creation to make you feel like you're optimizing your effort as a content creator? This could be like a manager, an editor, a person to remind you to do certain things. Like, what kind of people would you need in your content creation circle to be more successful in your eyes?
I'm gonna say right now, I'm looking for mods. Like, for mods for both Twitch and Discord. I'm on the struggle bus. But I think having an editor would definitely help, because right now I'm just uploading my VODs and clips on my own, and sometimes I like skip a day and I'm like, oh no, I gotta get this done, and there's just not enough time in the day for me. I have like a job that I have to do outside of the house, so it's a lot. So I mean, if I had an editor, it'd be a lot easier, but definitely having like moderators for both the Discord and Twitch would be like extremely helpful.
No, 100%. I feel that on a spiritual level. But like, so Brandon, I'm sending you a link to a website that I use that has been detrimental to how I've been able to keep posting so much. So it's a website that I talk about often called Streamladder. Basically, it's a program that allows you to build and work with clips, and it has a captions creator. It has a function that if you wanted to pay a small monthly fee for, it has a thing that can convert your VODs into clips.
Oh wow.
And
That's pretty smart.
It is, and it's a very powerful tool that has allowed me to maintain my consistency, because one of the hardest things for me is finding out how to make clips out of all of my other content that I do. And like, one thing that I will tell that anybody who's here today in the stream is that, you know, use the tools at your disposal to make your content more efficient and more effectively seen, because, you know, we live in a day and age right now where technology is so powerful. We have access to so much stuff to make our lives easier. And Streamladder for me allows me to give more content to my community while minimizing the amount of time it takes for me to make a clip.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like taking an hour to do a clip, it's like, ugh, pain.
Oh, I just use what Twitch allows me to use. They have like a clip thing, where like you can have a vertical clip as well as a horizontal clip.
Yeah.
And that just goes straight to TikTok and YouTube Shorts, because I don't have time to download it and put it in different programs and do all that stuff. I already do that for VODs.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, if you check out that program, I think that'll help you streamline a lot of your creation, and I hope that will give you some degree of be able to make things happen for you.
Yeah. That makes
Yeah.
I see it.
So Brandon, I have a lore question for you.
Ooh, a lore question. I love those.
So what made you choose to become Brandon the Chihuahua? What's the lore behind the username?
Fun fact, I am Etherean. It is a person who identifies in some way as a non-human animal. For me, it is definitely a dog.
Sure.
And it's really complicated. I will not get into the weeds about it unless somebody asks, but I like Chihuahuas. They're my favorite breed of animal, as well as, like, I believe I was also a Chihuahua in a past life. So I think picking this type of creature is acceptable. I think I have carry a lot of mannerisms and stuff too, so I think I like dogs. I am a dog.
There we go, you know? Heck yeah. So like with you like doing all this stuff as a creator, like what do you think was like your turning point to becoming a creator? Like what made you look at everything you're doing and say, you know what? I want to do this full time.
Oh my gosh.
The
It's like
lore.
making me think back to when I was like a child and like YouTube was a thing. Like it began to be a thing. It was like uploading videos to the internet. That's the coolest thing I had ever heard as like a teenager. And then like I was like just uploading everything. When I went to my first like anime convention, I started uploading videos from the event, and I thought, you know what, I want to do this forever. And then it switched to, actually, I want to make cosplay music videos forever. And then it switched to, maybe I want to do streaming forever. And then it became, oh, I want to be a VTuber.
Become dog.
So it's just kind of evolved.
I mean, it's awesome to see the evolution of that. So how do you balance your life, your IRL life to your streaming adventures? Like, how do you balance it?
Oh, that's a hard question. I have no idea how to even how do I put that into words?
You're flying by the seat of your pants, like you're making up as you go.
I am making it up as I go, honestly. Like I try to do like planned stuff, and it's like, oh god, I have this thing to do. I'm gonna shit myself. Hi, Froggy. It's just, oh, I'm just doing things one day at a time.
Mm-hmm. So that I think it's there's nothing really wrong with ever just genuinely, going by seat because like I don't think you really can plan everything as content creation because like one, trends change on the daily, people change, people leave, people show up, like it's a never-ending atmosphere, and it's a really difficult career because you can't control it.
Yeah, this is the one place where it's like I feel like I have control, but I really don't.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of content creation, Brandon, like what do you think is the one new development of content creation that you're not the biggest fan of?
What is it that I don't like?
Like what
maybe is the question.
Yeah, what do you like? What are people doing with content creation that you're not liking? Like what practices are they doing?
What is it that I don't like? Probably like the short attention span content.
Mm-hmm. You kind of wish it was
like sure, it's I think it's nice for like a good time waster.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're sitting on the toilet and you're like on TikTok or whatever, like that's fine.
Yeah.
But there are times where I'm at work and I just need something as background noise, and TikTok ain't doing it. Like I have to like put like a 4-hour video from YouTube on, and it takes me forever just to find the one video I like, and it's like, come on, guys. Long form content is not going to hurt you.
No. And I do agree. Like I wish long form was back. I wish long form would come back to being the main form of engagement for people again, because to me it's like I just remember the days like I would be in high school, I would be trying to like do a project, and I would need like a 2-hour video of here's how to play this really badass, here's 2 hours of gameplay, this one really cool thing, and
yeah,
people are now like shortening their videos so much because of the attention span problem. And like I think there's an important thing to be able to have both, but I do miss the longer videos and longer stuff. I mean, hell, I'm making podcast content now because I didn't realize how many people were like, hey, I want to listen to a conversation. Like I never thought podcasting would be a content venture for me.
I like podcasts.
I've only very recently have endured the nifty changes of podcasting, because like my wife watches a lot of like Murder Death Kill podcast, Distractable, some
Rotten Mango.
Like there's a lot of like there's so many like podcasts out nowadays, and it's like you either live long enough to quit streaming or you become a podcaster, and it's like, you know what, good enough. And like
yeah,
to me it's like what's fun about doing these podcasts is that like I said in the beginning, is this gives me a way to just genuinely have a more or less no holds barred, full on back and forth conversation with a fellow content creator in a way that allows me to feel like I can kind of gauge for myself how I'm doing, while also giving someone else the ability to, think deep about what they're trying to achieve as a creator. and I really do love having you here on the show, Brandon.
I like podcasts.
Podcast. Podcast go bear.
It's been like a really, really good like time saver looking for content. I'll just be like at work doing my job, and it's like I get to hear these two people talk about weird things.
Mm-hmm. So
it's really nice.
So do you think like your community has unintentionally attached a aesthetic or attached like a persona on you when you make content creation versus when you're acting like more normal? So like another word to kind of like trying to figure out how to put it, like how do you navigate the pressure of having to perform for your community while still trying to be authentic when you make your content?
I know that for one, there's one thing that like all VTubers have to deal with, and that's being more animated.
Yes.
I'm not that animated in person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do my best to be the same person, whether I'm wearing the model or not. And at some point, eventually I just like grow into whatever I'm doing right now. And then sometimes it like bleeds into real life. It kind of just like mixes.
Mm-hmm. No, and honestly, like I agree with like VTubers are required to an extent to try to create the visual aesthetic of, you know, things need to move, the bodies need to move more. And I think that still applies also to face cam creators too, because, you know, there is a visual appeal to like, you know, seeing the body language and the expressions, the eyebrows and all that. Like all of these things are really important for people who are coming for the first time, you know? And I think that, you know, there is definitely a pressure to perform. Like for me, whenever I go live, I do admittedly get about 30% louder when I'm streaming.
Oh God. You're speaking my language. I get yelled at. You're being too loud.
It's not even like vocally too. Like I'm talking like just like I get 30% more ridiculous whenever I'm officially like going live, you know, because like for me it's like my art streams are closer to my actual personality whenever I'm talking to people and like my occasional dirty joke here and there. But when I'm doing like my gaming stream
as well.
Yeah. Like when I'm in my gaming streams, I do crank myself up a little bit more to do a bit more performance, but I try not to like persona myself in the way of like trying to be a different guy. I just might be a little bit more off the cuff. And I think for a lot of people in my community, it's nice to see that my community doesn't mind when I'm either or, because like I feel like that's the hard thing about VTubing is like when you start off performing and acting, but then you lose the energy to keep it up, it changes everyone's perspective of you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think like for me, I think there is sometimes a degree of negative if you're performing for too much and people expect that of you at all times, because it becomes like physically draining, I think.
Yeah. It's definitely draining. I feel like when I'm done with the streams for the day, I'm just like, okay, I need to walk away from the computer and just like lay down because I'm so tired.
No, that's fair. That is very, very fair. So I think like as we kind of get down to some of our final questions here, I want to just kind of like remind those of you who are watching here today that if you are a viewer and you are a part of a streamer's community and you notice that they are putting efforts into certain things, don't be afraid to provide positive feedback or just very respectful constructive criticisms, because a lot of times streamers are by themselves. They don't have sometimes they're not brave enough to ask communities for advice, or they've had negative experiences that have caused them to say, I don't wanna, you know?
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things I will always ask everybody is like, do everything you can to be respectful whenever your streamer is trying their best. And if they ask you a question about something, be honest, but be respectful, because the point of a constructive criticism is to grow. Just glazing it and saying, no, you're doing great, King, you don't need to worry about nothing, like that's not helpful, because there's no such thing as a perfect streamer.
Yeah,
There is no such thing as a perfect streamer. And
absolutely.
And honestly, like, you know, the biggest point with like the biggest reason any streamer makes a community is to build a safe space that allows like-minded mentalities, ideologies, and so on to be able to congregate into one big spot. And I hope, Brandon, that as you keep making more content, as you keep finding ways to reinvent yourself, that you do find ways to make the community of your dreams a reality.
Yeah.
I think you deserve it, you know? And
yeah.
And I hope for anyone in your community who ends up watching this video, I hope they find a way to appreciate, you know, the things that you've given in terms of your opinions and your hopes and your dreams about everything. And I think this was a really wonderful opportunity for us to, you know, really have a good sit down conversation to learn more about each other and also to learn, like, you know, what you're trying to achieve as a creator, you know?
Exactly.
So as some of our final thoughts here today, the silver lining, ladies and gentlemen, is a community is an organic thing. A community is an ever-changing situation that is always dependent on the streamer's energy, the ability of its people, and the willingness that you as a viewer or a member are willing to put in order to help it grow and become something better than what it was the other day. So support your streamers, understand that communities are a time investment, and make sure you join communities because you want to grow, not because you want to sell something, not because you want to, you know, use it as a way to market yourself. Use a community to obtain connections. So Brandon, today, before we end off and do our final closing statements here, do you have any questions for me or anything you would like to help clarify about yourself for those who are watching today's video?
I don't really have questions or anything. I'm just here for the vibes. But if people have questions, I'm totally open to answering anything. I'll be able to answer almost any question. So.
Heck yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as always though, if you guys did end up enjoying today's podcast episode, consider liking, subscribing, and come joining us on our YouTube streams as we do have additional podcast episodes available for you today. Don't forget, guys, this was live recorded in front of a studio audience on our Twitch. There will be a link to my Twitch in the description. But of course, guys, do not forget to follow the amazing Brandon, who was our lovely guest here today for our podcast. I was very thankful to have them here in our stream. And if you guys are watching this from the YouTube video, there will be a link to their Twitch in their description. That way you guys can come find them and learn more about them. But nevertheless, though, Brandon, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Heck yeah. But as always, though, guys, thank you guys all for being amazing individuals. As always, have fun, be safe, be humble, be amazing. This has been another episode of The Silver Lining. Have a good one. Adios, sayonara, and goodbye.